There's a day of feasting and a day of famine, day of sadness and a day of joy. You couldn't see in your day of feasting. Life isn't just a little play like toy. So your day arrived when you least expected. 'Cause you always thought you were well protected. But now you feel like a fish out of water.
And that's right, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to say hello and welcome to a fresh, brand new edition of the program ASHFORD GARLEY Live on Bridge Radio Africa. Today is Sunday. It's very unusual that you see us on Sunday, but there's a new day in Liberia, so we tried our best when we have the time to come on here to inform, entertain, and of course, educate our people on what's going on in Liberia. As always, Father God, want to give you praise, want to magnify your name. Blessed be your holy name forever. God, we give you thanks for strength. Thank you so much for making it to see yet another day. We pray for Liberia. We pray for the people of Liberia. In the name of Jesus, we've given thanks. Some heard the name, some heard people talk about them. You've gotten the opportunity to match the name, face, and voice, the mastermind, the doctor of love, the medicine of the microphone, the golden voice of radio, Africa's media, do extraordinary. To my people from back home, go back quick on your secret. You some upon a zoo guia, wouldn't know mozo, and one ye mad double to dry. Adiwapo, Mojimia Dre. He doesn't eat iron, but he's definitely stronger than the lion. I'm ASHFORD GARLEY. Welcome to the show. Tonight we have a few panelists, some of which you're going to be seeing for the first time. But just stay tuned as we prepare ourselves tonight for yet a splendid show. I want to say hi to Benaldine Eastman. Benaldine, how are you? A new day in Liberia. Adiaha, Umo is also here. Please do us a favor. Your friends are not our friends. Share the video so that we can together all have a great time tonight. And at this time, I'd like to say hi to the General Doris Kurma, aka she's ambassador. She's fought. She worked very hard and making sure the GMB get to power. And today, here we are with smiles. And as we all observe a brand new day in Liberia. I also like to say hi to Professor Nancy Eleanor Reeves as she makes her debut on Bridge Radio Africa. Uh, Let us begin with the stranger, Nancy, Professor Nancy Eleanor Reeves. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself in 2 minutes?
Thank you so much. Yes, I am Nancy Eleanor Reeves Davis. I have been in Canada, as some of you heard when I was last on some shore for the last 23 years. Actually, I came in Canada in 2000 through sponsorship by the World University Services of Canada. I have a Bachelor Master's in Social Work at the verge of completing my PhD in social work education with a focus on trauma and trauma of war. I've been a college and university lecturer here in Canada since 2008. And I'm also a clinical therapist, but most importantly, I think I love Liberia. And we are here for Liberia. And as you said, Garley, this is a new day. I added a new era and most likely a new century for Liberia, a new decade for Liberia. And we'll talk more about how the people of Liberia have been resilient. I think that's what brings me here today to talk about. Thank you so much.
Okay, and we also want to hear from Deborah Coburn, General Ambassador of the GMB campaign. You're not strange to the social media. You've had your own shows, Deborah. Tell us about how you feel today about a new day in our country.
Well, Ashra, it is indeed a pleasure being on this noble platform, and especially to sit alongside Professor Nancy is um, it's an honor. I always love to tap, into her knowledge. She has been several times on my platform, and we have learned a lot, especially when it came to the social work, because we both are social scientists.
Mhm.
As it relates to Liberia, like you rightly said, that it's a new dawn in Liberia. Having seen where Liberia was for the past 6 years, and to see that today a transition government is about to take place, because we have to wait until next officially announced. But looking at the political arena, we have seen and come to know that Honorable Joseph Newman Boyka and Honorable Jeremiah Cohn are both president and vice president and waiting to be announced. So I'm so excited. Words are inadequate to express how I feel right now, because the road to where we are right now was a tedious one. But by the grace of God, we made it here. And we did not make it here alone. We made it here as a team, collectively. So it's a pleasure being on this platform tonight. Thank you so much.
Okay, before we go any further, I know there are people who own businesses and might want to create awareness for their business. All you have to do, please contact Bridge Radio Africa. And speaking of business, I know in the next couple of months, all roads will lead to Liberia for the inauguration. And for those who plan to buy homes in Liberia, we have our first advertiser tonight, Honeybee, based out of the Monrovia Robertsfield Highway. She has a couple of homes, and she has asked British Radio Africa to do a little awareness for that, for those who are interested. The first one that she said, look no further. Honeybee has two vacant stores, uh, concrete wrap inside and outside, concrete roof with individual private half bathroom, and it's located in the Pinsville area, Robertsfield Highway, around the Camp Bethesda Mission School, Honeybee Junction, Bangbas Town. And she's asking to $500 a month, and you will have to pay the annual fee for that. Serious inquiries, please. And to contact Honeybee, please contact her on 813-850-2550. You can leave her a voicemail or text message, or you can also send her an email on hunting, that's B Berry, Berry, Berry 53 at gmail.com. And Honeybee is also asking if you're looking for the house to rent in Liberia. Honeybee has you covered with two houses for rent. One house is located on the main road. It could be residential or commercial. It's also located in the Pinsville area, Robertsfield Highway, near the Camp Bethesda Mission School and Honeybee Junction, Members Town. It has three bedrooms, three and a half baths, living and dining room, kitchen, upper balcony, porch, paved front yard, glass sliding windows with screen porch, and throughout. And she also has the water tower, electric nearby, and she wants $650 monthly paid annual. She's asking for, and Honeybee can be reached at 813-850-2550. You can send her a text message, email, her at bberry53 at gmail.com. Okay, so throughout the program tonight, we'll be talking about the property that she has for rent and in the Bembastown area in Painesville. I also like to say welcome to the Reverend. Reverend, you've been in East Africa for quite some time now. We want to welcome you. And in a little minute or two, go ahead and introduce yourself to the rest of the panelists and the world.
Thank you so much, Ashford, for having me and all of the panelists. I'm Reverend George. I'm glad to be back. It's been a pleasant time away in East Africa or based in Nairobi, Kenya, where we did ministry and continue to do missions work. Thanks to all the folks who have been praying for us. We had a wonderful time and we're looking forward to continue to contribute to the development of Liberia as we participate in the wonderful Bridge Radio Africa, ASHFORD Garley, the giant. I'm glad to be back. Thanks to all the panelists. I know I see different faces, but beautiful Liberians who are interested in seeing our country move forward. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You know, at the end of a very competitive election, it's time to bring people together. Uh, we can all see that just by seeing the election, you notice that the country is divided and we need to come together. Coming together, in other words, reconciliation. Now, reconciliation does not mean that you should leave people off the hook. Our country has suffered for 6 years. And thank God that the decision that was made by the Liberian people got us to where we are now. We have a newly elected president, former president, or soon to be former president. We are spoke today at his church. We'll bring you excerpts of his speech. And it was welcoming. And for the most part, they blame themselves for the loss. But I want to begin with the Prof. Eleanor Reeves. When you heard about reconciliation, especially following a very tough fight, for lack of a better term, election, what comes to mind?
Well, the word, thank you so very much, Ashford, again, for having me on your show. As I told you, this is the first time. Thank you to Deborah. Thank you, Pastor George. Reconciliation, what comes to my mind is peace, togetherness, collaboration, right? Liberia has been through a lot, and we must admit the Civil War. I mean, you go back to from the return of the slaves and what happened almost more than a century. The indigenous people of Liberia have had a lot. The masses have had a lot of suffering and poverty and all of these. But then we know all the historical things that happened. Again, a lot of victims. And then we had a civil war, and you name that. And yeah, we are now the last 6 years. I've never seen people beg that I've seen the last 6 years. I've never seen it. I mean, it was so pathetic, or it's still so pathetic. Notwithstanding, we need togetherness because President Walker had 51% of the vote. President Weah had, former President Weah had about 49 or so percent, if I'm right. That's a divided country. It is very important that those two groups come together and make a better Liberia. So when I think about reconciliation, Mr. Garley, I think about peace, the need for peace, the need for common understanding. Because what do we put first? Liberia. Over UP or CDC, Liberia first. If you want to see Liberia flourish, then you will work towards peace of that country. And I jokingly say to people, we need to be politically mature. That's what political maturity counts for. When election happens and your side loses, you accept it. It's win lose, and put the interests of the country first. So that's what comes to my mind, peace. But to achieve that peace, we need to work towards it. And I'm very sure Liberians can do that. From what I've seen the last few days, we can certainly.
Thank you. I want to go to Reverend George. Reverend George, we had a tough we had a tough road heading towards the re-election before the runoff, and you being a very staunch supporter of uh, ANC or the CPP that the Honorable Alexander Kumi comes from, uh, you saw things differently at the time. But now that the Liberian people have spoken, I know for the kind of tough talking person you are, you will have a lot of questions for the new administration. But let us begin by asking about your thought process about reconciliation.
Well, again, thank you for having me, Mr. Garley. Hmm, you know, I personally believe that this is a word that is often thrown around, reconciliation, because it's very nice to the hearing. But I think we have to be detailed this time around from our experience of 15 years of civil war and the carnage, the destruction, and then the aftermath of that when we literally rewarded even those who were violent perpetrators. We rewarded them with state powers, and we took few years from Judy Bryant, and then 12 years with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and 6 years now with George Weah. What do we see? We see the Liberian people still victims. The people are still victims by having these warlords being rewarded with state powers. So for me, it's a tough spot. I certainly agree with our last speaker about the need to reconcile, the need to work at reconciliation. But I think we have to redefine what that work will entails, whether we have accountability in there. If we want to have accountability, where do we start to hold people accountable? Because peace in a human sense, though, peace without justice, it's really a tough spot to be. It's almost like impunity, no matter how we call it. We can look at the short term gratification. Okay, things settle down, we start. But what about the long term? What about the message of free will and impunity to perpetrators? So I believe Liberia needs reconciliation, but I also do believe that we are at a very tough spot to ask a tough question. Where do we begin? What will reconciliation look like? Will it be just sweeping everything under the rug, like we say in the typical Liberian term, for peace sake? Or do we start by holding people accountable? And if we want to hold people accountable, what is the right time to do that? What is the right message? There are time frames in Liberia, whether the indigenous situation she spoke about, whether the indigenous coming to power 1980, whether the inception of the Civil War. Where do we start? So it's a tough spot, but we have to look at other countries, because there was Sierra Leone next door that when we were juggling with the issue of war crime, they were holding people accountable, and we see how the nation pretty much moved forward. That's one piece. The second piece is the determination of this incoming administration, regardless of whether we dig our old wounds or not, but to set in place a system of justice that will hold everyone accountable.
Thank you. I will now bring in the general, Anakuman, to weigh in.
Oh, thank you, Ashford. Listening to my co-panelists, they have said a lot. And my input is we have seen Liberia gradually trying to reconcile, you know, a lot of things since our senseless civil crisis, wherein what took place 1990 was not necessary. And we found out that Liberians are still being victimized by the ignorance, by self gratification of these so called quote unquote bourgeoisie. We need to look at it from a holistic point of view, like what Professor Reeve said. Reconciliation has to do with the mind. We must have independent mind of ourselves. We cannot sit and depend on what others will say about us. It starts with an individual. Gradually, it goes out in the community and society at large. Reconciliation should be held like what the Reverend said. It comes with responsibility. It comes with transparency. It comes with accountability. So if we must reconcile right now as a government, the JNB government coming in, there are a lot of things that we need to take into consideration. That is the platform on which Honorable Joseph Newman Boaka won this election. He told us that there will be accountability, that there's going to be transparency, that auditing will take place. The war in economic concord is a must. It must be established. There are a lot of people hurting. We all are hurting. I'm victimized because I have been raped. I was raped from the age of 7 years old until 14 years old. I have a son that is missing since 1990s. He was 6 years old. There are a lot of things people are hurting. So how can we reconcile when people are still hurting? People must give account of things that they did to others. That's the only way reconciliation can
Thank you.
take place. But like I said, it's happening on a gradual pace. And we will hold Honorable Joseph Nimo Bodaka accountable for what he told Liberians that he's going to implement these things. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That will bring in Dr. Gay. Just before Dr. Gay comes in, I'd like to say hi to my friend and brother Othello. Nate, how you doing, my brother? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Greetings to all of you. Let me congratulate you, Mr. Garley. It is good to be here. This is not my first time, so it is good to be back home, and I look forward to a very fruitful conversation tonight.
Okay. Dr. Gay, please unmute your device.
Yes, thank you, and let me apologize to everyone for being late. Been working on a few things here, all in the name of reconciliation, and it's a great time to be a Liberian or to be Liberian because we have found ourselves as the word of West Africa or Africa oldest democracy, something we should be proud of, and this is our 70th elections, starting from the first that was done on the ship in the beginning of the Elizabeth journey, sojourn. You will notice that the first election took place on that ship to what we call the Elizabeth Compact, and we never stopped for leading this role. And the lecture on reconciliation is very powerful. I listened to the sister, and she was just on point. How do you reconcile a nation? I know I was here yesterday, and I used a generic term for reconciliation, something that we should never take for granted. There are many forms of reconciliation. Oftentimes, we tie reconciliation to conflict, but there are many forms of conflict. Economic conflict. When Samuel Lee office and Ken gave us what was on the book, we need to reconcile. That's the reason I always like to use the economic definition of reconciliation because almost all conflicts are fought because of the misuse of our natural resources and our human resources. When people are abused, it's a form of pain that must be reconciled. So for you to continue this dialogue on reconciliation, I'm hoping that the Bwaka-led administration will have an open mind to knowing that this reconciliation we're talking about must be brought on multifaceted levels, so that those who are committing the economic crime can be brought to reconcile their book, and the person-to-person, interpersonal reconciliation must take place, so that we know that we are a country and our people must reconcile our history. So it is very important and a good time to discuss this now.
Thank you. Othello, we had a rough 6 years on the George Ware. And now that we have seen a new day, people are asking about the reconciliation. People are asking about the way forward. I would want digging into your head to see what what are your thoughts.
Pretty much, I think it is very important that one of the responsibilities of our Indian government is to reconcile the country, because Liberia is divided. You can look from the pool. Having a 51% and someone having a 49%, it means that 49% of the population, the voting population, actually oppose Ambassador Joseph Newman Boakai. So we will have to work along with those who did disagree with him, so we can bring our nation forward. But I just want to agree with one of my brothers over there. We cannot reconcile a nation if we don't do the right thing. We need accountability in our country. I cannot be hurt and you want me to reconcile with you. I cannot be going through a whole lot when it comes to what occurred within the 6 years, or what occurred maybe 20 years ago, and you still want us to reconcile. We have to look at the implementation of the TRC report. We need to look at the World Economic Crime Code. We need to look at corruption in our countries as well, because looking at few officials, I would say that who stole millions of dollars outside the country, and they are in government. Can we reconcile with those people? People who stole millions of taxpayer money? So I think we need to look at things from a very, very different angles in order to reconcile our nation. But the reconciliation got to come with the full implementation of the TRC, as well as the establishment of the World Economic Crime Code. And we look forward to that as well.
Okay, well, today we saw the president-elect went to church today. He went to the Effort Baptist Church in Painesville. And we also saw uh, the outgoing president, President Weir, in church today. And again, both sides know what they did. But I just want to take a listen to President Weir today in service.
But in your mind, anybody believe that, okay, George will not be president? Yes. I just called Mr. Obama to congratulate him. But you see, the reason that we did that, it's not about me. It's about the people. It's will not be president, but he says yes. I really believe he says yes because my position, I can't work with that position. Somebody coming there now. Now, those that will believe that, oh, the world is not do anything, the man now. But the district champion will all do this. He didn't teach anything. But I just want to encourage you, Liberia. You see, I came here many times, I told you I'm an administrator, I'm not a politician. If I was a politician, but now, either we kill each other or we get around and be president again. That will not be. Listen to. I'm making a speech so you can be aware. For all the members of the coalition, but listen to even the Joseph Waka that come and say, Noah, we can continue to keep our way down. But the number we have here, in that we're going to rise people, then
You know what I got from the speech, the snippet for what I got from the speech is, you see, whatever happened to us over the last few days, we did this to ourselves. Uh, we heard that he was in a meeting with schools of his followers and partisans, and said, listen, you had the position. Some of you didn't speak to your district. But you come to me when you see money. And today, the people are angry. So are you surprised that they voted the way they did? You did it to yourselves. And I'm told after the first round, the people went to him and to talk about how they could force him there. He said, no. If you people did what you have to do, then there's no need of forcing. If the people win the election, give it to them. But Professor Reeves, these guys were so confident that they were going to win the election. So whatever money they had before, they spent everything on the campaign. And then they say, when we get there now the second time, then we'll re-empty the country. But as God could have it, it turned out the other way. Because God does not sleep. We know what we went through in that country for 6 years. And the culture of impunity has got to stop and begin to hold people accountable for what they did to the country. If you never declared your assets, you never earned $100 a month before in your life, you come to power, all of a sudden you're building mansions, duplexes, apartment complexes, you're building homes abroad. The thing is, you will have to put people in place to audit and go after those ill-gotten wealth and bring it back home. In this day and age, you have a medical facility that does not have electricity. I remember very well when people are in the hospital and carrying goals, those who were on ventilator, they died. I have a friend that wants to go for inauguration. But the guy said, Ashford, I cannot go. I said, why? He said, because I'm on dialysis. I really want to go. What's going to happen? There was a guy on the show last night. The guy, for every 5-10 minutes, he will go off. AUC gone. The generator is not stable. People really want to go home. But for 6 years, you dance buka, you build football pitch, and you were saying when you win the election the second time, then you would build your legacy. Then you would do what you're supposed to do. When from day one, you play soccer at a very high level, you made a lot of money. You squander your money. You regain your wealth at the expense of Liberia and the poor Liberian people because of your popularity. And this is what you did to us in 6 years. And you were asking the people to put you back. So the people did what they had to do. Even with alleged attempts of trying to rig the election, it didn't happen. Professor Reeves.
Mr. Garley, you know what? There's a saying very familiar to Liberians that the fish starts to get rotten from the head. Former President Weah cannot tell me, I'm all the way here in Canada, and I knew a lot of things that were happening in Liberia. He cannot say, as president of Liberia, he did not see what was happening. He put those people in office. It was his responsibility to not only listen to the Liberian people, but also get around and see what is happening. That's what an administrator does. That's what a chief executive officer does. Look, I was in one of the CDC chat rooms. They know my name there because I never sat there to pacify President Weah. I wrote as much as I could. Sometimes I even begged them to take me out because she's not a part of CDC, because if you don't talk the things that are not happening, then you're not a part of CDC. But President Weah cannot say he sat down for 6 years and saw the city of Monrovia so filthy. I mean, the last time I was in that country, my throat felt bitter from just the stench. And how can you have your people living in that condition? And you say you have the city mayor for a city. What was he doing? He can say he was innocent about what was going on. He can say he was president of Liberia and saw people flying out to Ghana for medical treatment. You know, what about those who did not have the money to fly out for those medical treatment? What became of them? They died. So being sick in Liberia, it's like a death sentence. Liberian literally became beggars. You know, I see a mates of mine who we all went to school together, the same age. They look so old. They look so old. He can't say he didn't see that. And for him to be blaming his people for not talking to the people, it doesn't make sense to me. He should have gotten up and done his work, make sure those that he put in power were doing the work. And I would say to President-elect Walker, put in place an evaluation committee or department in all of those ministries. Every single project that is being undertaken should have some evaluation procedure. Come back and say, what is the impact of these programs and services? Do survey, do interviews, get out there and talk to people. Talk to the youth of that country. You know, I haven't really heard these talking much about what the youth of Liberia did. They stood up. And I look for 2029 where there will be more youth in the houses of representatives, Senate of Liberia. This is a transition that is going on in Liberia, and we need to be aware of it and support these children to become better future leaders of this country. So what he said there just doesn't make sense to me, but I think when I listened to one of the videos from President Weir,
20 seconds, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He is just not politically, what the word I want to use? His political analysis is just poor. That's all I would say. Very poor political analysis. And I don't know how he was voted into office as being president. So that's what we see.
Reverend George, Liberia is in too deep of a ditch for us to slack. It's time to begin working, and that's why I'm glad that you have agreed to help build together this platform as we hold the new administration accountable. You know, I'm going to Liberia in January. I'm going to get my license for British Radio to be established locally in the country. And I know it's my constitutional right to have my license. So if the new administration thinks that we're coming to get our license and we just sit down and see things and don't say anything, they're mistaken. They are going to hear from us. When they do good, we'll talk about it. When they do bad, we will also talk about it. With over 5 million people, we're waiting to see the first 100 days. When you start making appointments and those appointments appear to be recycled, then we'll have a problem. There are way qualified people in that country. So the market where baboon draw business, I'm pretty sure we are going to be looking at competence, you know, and merit, qualification, and now who know you. And one of the things I heard the president-elect said during the campaign trail, he said he would bring a minister from each county. And people listened. We all listened. You can't say you want change, and then when you get there, you start to do the same thing that others did. You see, old rogue is smarter than new rogue. And most of the supporters who I fear and favor behind President-elect Boycott, most of them are all rogues. So he said he will have zero tolerance for corruption. We are watching. We are looking. We will be there. We will grow with this new administration. without fear and favor. And that's why when we endorsed President-elect Boycott without precondition, because he was a better alternative as opposed to George Weah. So we will be there. We'll be watching. And Reverend George, I know you'll be there with me.
Thank you, Ashford, and all of the panelists. Listen, I think it's not too early as we're starting to look at things and how we want to move Liberia forward. But I remain to remind all of us right now, we are between the hills and the rock. It's a predicament. Why do I say that? And with all fairness, we allow Ambassador Boycott to do things differently. But Ambassador Boycott was there when they gave $30,000 free money to every legislature for vacation. He was there under Ellen government. You know, the salary disparity that went on between ministers and civil servants, people making 12,000, 10,000 United States dollars in Liberia with free money for gas, free money for scratch card, free money for cooks, for driver, for yana boss, just for being a minister. So again, it remains to be seen what Mr. Boycott is going to do differently, because let me tell you, corruption is so entrenched in the Liberian culture. It starts from the head, like the doctor has said. Now, I couldn't imagine the last time I visited Liberia was 2012, and I was there for some time and saw the system that was at play, where a minister was taking home close to 10,000 United States dollars and still had use of government vehicles, government gas, government scratch card, government. So again, and Ambassador Boycott was in that government for 12 years. So he has a heavy stick and heavy burden to carry, because we're gonna hold him to accountable for those things. Why is it necessary now to give a legislature $30,000 for just quote unquote bogus legislative engagement? Let's call it a vacation money. Okay, and our people are suffering. So and this is nothing we're going to close our mouth on anymore. So yes, we want reconciliation, but again, for me, from the accounting terms, reconciliation means to bring together two different opposing statements to harmonize them. We have an opposing statement now. The plight of the mean street in Liberia, the common man, they are not living well, and the government officials are living far above the imagination of the Liberian culture. We have to truly reconcile that behavior, that lifestyle. And Ambassador Boycott, thank God he's won, because they the one initiated that under Ellen administration. You know, the salary disparity, all of that, they were luring quote unquote professional to go back home and running two budgets for Western professional and home-based professional. It got us into where we are today. The average Liberian man is suffering.
Thank you.
So again, we got a lot of work to do, but we'll take our time to hold this government accountable. But it's not a bread and butter thing. Ambassador Boycott is not just a clean slate. If I have my will, he too needs the whole administration. Those you talk about who were paid for play, they all need to be audited. So how do we do that? But we wait to see the journey ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. General?
Yes, like I earlier mentioned, there's a new dispensation on the horizon, and we're going to hold Honorable Joseph Newman Boycott accountable for everything that goes on as of the day he will be announced as the next president of Liberia. Having had a management background, we look at stratification, the where, the how, the when, and the who. You must know where these things, took place, when, how did it occur, and how can you solve the problem. My suggestion here is that Honorable Joseph Boyka used this corn platform that the past president we are had, Change for Hope. This is the hope that Liberians have been yearning for all these years. So if he can grab hold of this platform, Change for Hope, and change the dynamics of politics, like what the Reverend just said, these bogus allotment that was given to these, government officials. They wrote the constitutions, they adjusted it to suit their taste. We can go back in and rewrite the same constitution that will have this inclusiveness that civil servants, the ordinary civil servants, can
Yeah.
also benefit rather than saying that they are the workers. You have the drone six. The drones are the representatives and or senators and the bourgeoisie, while the ordinary citizens are there suffering doing the most dirtier work. All right, they just sit there and discuss things and make laws, and theoretically they do that, but the practical work, the implementation is being done by the ordinary civil servants, and they are being underpaid. All right. So these are the things that we expect Honorable Joseph Nimo Boaka to put into place. Make sure the harmonization that came about in reducing of civil servant. Imagine a man that has degrees and has his family. You pay him $65, $100. What really can it do? Looking at the economy, the global crisis that the world is facing. And then look at Liberia, a third world country. Look how the high prices, the cost of living is in the country, and Liberians are suffering. And it baffles me to see that President Weah said that he wants to shift the blame from on him. You see, being street smart, and having education, they are two different things. You don't have to have all the education to be street smart to know the necessity that your people want. You came from the slums of Gibraltar, you saw poverty. You took yourself, you motivated yourself, you became well bred, African best, and you travel out of the country, you saw things. We expected you to go back into Liberia and diffuse what you saw by empowering, like what Professor Reed said, the youth, reintegrating them and putting them in society, creating a microcredit scheme. You had it. If you go back, like I keep saying, go back to my 2018 message to the president where I told him to strengthen the educational sector,
37
to strengthen the security sector, to ensure that our teachers, those that are molding the minds of our youth, our future generations, they are being underpaid. How can a man sit and dignify himself when he being underpaid? This is why we have corruption in the country, because if men and women that are educated, it took years for them to acquire knowledge, they are not being paid. Definitely, you are forcing them to do things that they're not supposed to do, although they have the ethic, the social ethic norms that they talk to uphold integrity. But sometimes when a man is pushed, he does things that he's not supposed to do. Now, accountability, transparency. We expect Honorable Joseph Newman Boyka to implement the TRC, to implement the War and Economic Crime Court,
time, please.
to also ensure. Go ahead.
Thank you. Again, folks, if you just joining us, this is ASHFORD GARLEY live on British Radio Africa. We're coming your way from the Twin Cities of Minnesota. I want to say a big thanks to our sponsor for the program today, Honeybee. Honeybee is based out of Florida. She has a couple of homes for rent in Liberia, and those homes are located around the Cambeta Stagnation in Painesville on the Monroeville Ramosville Highway and Honeybee Junction in Benghastown. She's asking for $500 a month, and she will accept a yearly payment. She can be reached at 813-850-2550. Leave her a voicemail, a text message, on an email. Email her at bberry53@gmail.com. Dr. Gay, it is Your turn. Somebody said to me yesterday, Ashford, whose side you really on? Because you deal with CDC, you deal with the opposition. Whose side you really on? Some on Liberia's side.
Mm.
She said, but when you eat, I said, I am eating. If Liberia eats,
Mm.
I eat.
Mm. Mm.
Thank God I'm healthy. I have a decent job in America. But at the end of the day, we have passion
Mm.
for the radio. We have passion for people. The things our people went through for 6 years,
Mm.
it was rough. And we can't sit down to say kumbaya when you know your people are suffering. I mean, you got people who were walking around with smelling feet that could barely change their drugs. They overnight they start owning mansions and building stores. Come on now. You have people in government who were sanctioned by the United States, and yet you vote them in as senators. Where's the change?
Mm.
I hope what was done to Samuka, gets to happen to McGill and what's his name? Bill Twiley.
Bill 12, yeah.
There's no time for joke.
Prince Johnson.
Of course. We have to hold these people accountable. Like to get.
Well, thank you. In fact, what you stress is so important, and I like all of the voices here tonight. And I just want to add here, part of reconciliation is to reconcile your constitution. Here we have a situation that Monrovia is the oldest municipality in Africa. In modern terms of history, 1854 law passed. 1854, electing the first mayor of Monrovia. Most people don't know. He was a medical doctor, the first black man, pharmacologist from Yale University. April 7 will make Monrovia, the name Monrovia, 200 years. Who knows about that? But thank God I wrote a little book about that to celebrate Monrovia 200th anniversary next year. Monrovia set up its law to elect its mayor. And why is it that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and Terry Gonglo went to court to squash that law? And I hear everybody talk about the dirty city. You can appoint a mayor today, it doesn't help Monrovia. You need an elected mayor with his city council who can do the work of the city and be held by the people. The water place is dirty. We try to help. We should know about. We send boats. We send medical supplies to clean the river, to do some work for our country. They were squandered at the port. Some of the people today who won the lawmaker position use our equipment, medical supplies, or oxygen tanks to win election in Liberia. You know about that. You have the boat's picture. So we also know that there's a 1974 Executive Act passed by William Tolbert. Very, very powerful instrument in the statutory laws. Mr. Tolbert passed that nobody should make more than $30,000. He was the highest earned person. That law is still in the book. Do you know that our lawmakers are being in violation of that law? All they do, they just change the law every year. They say the budget is the law. But that law still exists. The great United States, I've heard most people talking about, we're the third poorest country in West Africa. Our lawmakers are the third, and our executives are the third. The most of the highest paid in the world. How can you get paid by the same amount of money that the richest country on earth earn? And we're talking about, I like the way my sister put it. What's the reconciliation? You got these people struggling. So Toba was right. $30,000 for the presidency, I think $15,000 for the vice president, and everybody fall below. That law is still in the book. Think about that again. Then we also have the situation of absentee voting, Article 80, Section C. I shouldn't be going to Liberia twice to go and vote. We have the oldest law. That law was passed based on the United States when the American government was in civil war under President Lincoln. That absentee law was passed. So when Emma Sawyer and his friends passed that law was in accordance to what they have seen, the precedent set by America. So we should be implementing that law. But today, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Guinea, they all vote at the embassies. We are still fighting for that law. So for me, it is very important that we reconcile our constitution. I didn't say throw it away, amend or follow the laws that are in the book so that we can help make this country better.
We'll take a quick musical break and then we'll bring in Othello.
We want to tell you thank you plenty for voting for the rescue mission. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my people, yeah, thank you. Your deal well.
Thank you very much.
God, thank you, Liberian people, thank you for voting for us. God, thank you, Rescue Mission say thank you for voting for us. God, thank you, JB say thank you for voting for us. God, thank you, JKK say thank you for voting for us. God, thank you, Rescue Mother say thank you for voting for us. God, thank you, Rescue and they say thank you for voting for us. God, thank you, 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 God, thank you for voting. We want to see our
Okay. Telling the people thank you is not enough. Othello, take it away.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to take everybody's minds back to 2017. There's a comment that was made by the president-elect Joseph Newman Boakai, but I think many people did not take that word into consideration. He made a very strong point when we were campaigning. He said to the Liberian people that if you elect George Weah, he will kick you around the football. I think some people heard that. He said that to them. He said, if you give opportunity to this man, he's not going to leave. He will kick you around the football. George Weah became president. I don't think he understood what the word president means and what are those responsibilities that come with the presidency. He thought the presidency was just a mere football field where you just go play football around. And that's why he treated Liberia the way he treated the country. When you go to Liberia, you don't recognize anything. The country is dirty. Look at the building of the Ministry of Finance. The place that help the nation with everything. Go there and see the building. It's dirty. We have not even ended election. People are already started looting the whole building. People are taking computer, people are taking laptop, people are taking everything outside the country just because they think they will not be accountable for that. So going back to this, I think the president-elect Ambassador Joseph Newman Boakai has a whole lot of work to do. That's why I told people that we have to reduce our expectation a little bit and just provide an opportunity to serve our country. Because Liberia is back to zero. Foreign reserve is gone. International respect is gone. The economy is down. I say every part of the country, every system in the country is broken. Ellen built it, Joshua destroyed it. Ellen built it, Joshua destroyed it. And when you go to the country, Joshua reduce our people to begging. Reduce every young woman to prostitution in our country. Joshua reduced civil servant from $150 to $50 to $25, and people are not even getting paid for that. And today we say, oh yes, indeed. We should give the man second term. Oh yes, indeed, we should vote the man because the man build road, the man build this. How will you build road? If the southeastern part of Liberia, people are passing through Africa to go there. Even to reach to Nimba, there's a fight on the road. And it is good that the people of this country called Liberia, they did not just fight for their own democracy, but they stood up to the guns, they stood up to the police, they stood up to everybody who tried to stop them from doing what is right for the country. So we will fight, and those who are on this platform, please don't praise Joseph Boakai. Please don't do it. Remain in the same campaign mood. If he goes wrong, tell him that, Mr. President, you are going wrong. If he does the best thing, let all praise the man. But we should not all be singing for Boakai every second. This is what destroyed George Weah government. Because everybody said, oh, Mr. President, you're doing good. Mr. President, if you go to the market, corporate rates are $20. Mr. President, the gas are $200. Even though if citizens of our country are buying one corporate rate for $200. But they kept saying to him, Mr. President, you're the best president in 1847. The economy is good. The people are happy with you. So we need to stand up today. Can we start today against Joseph Boakai again? Because we don't want to go back to the same old story.
Thank you.
We're seeing people who are corrupt coming around President Joseph Boakai, and we say no, he's part of the rescue train. We will push every bad apple from the tree. We will push them. We want to have competent people in Georgia, in Ambassador Joseph Nyima Boakai government. We don't want to bring people into government based on friendship. We don't want to see that. We want to hire people with the qualification, with the integrity that will support the country and that will support his government to succeed. We don't want the same thing where Twe come up to us and say, oh, Mr. President, the economy has grown by 2%. At the end of the day, beggar rest is $300 in the country, $400 US. We don't want that. We want people who will be real with the president, telling Mr. President, this is what needs to be done, and this is where we need to go as a country.
Thank you. Professor Reeves, when you are hungry in Canada, there's a Burger King and a McDonald's. You decide, when you go in there, you don't ask for the owner. You go there because you're hungry. I went to Liberia in 2016. The rooting establishment, most of the big shots, they have 4 or 5 girlfriends. All the girlfriends got stores. If you're not part of the rooting establishment, nobody will visit your business center. Nobody will eat from you. The people who are in power, they have their own clique. So you're not going there because you're hungry. You're going there because you want to support those people. In this administration, the same thing. The citizens see you, if you don't support it, they see you as enemy of the state. In fact, they have their cliques. They have their own Kobo shop. All their girlfriends and boyfriends, they go there and support people of their kind. Is this the kind of country that we call country, or that country friend? You see, when you travel, I mean, traveling alone is education. When you come back, you can't keep doing the same thing. Look, one of the most corrupt people who were just elected senator of Bowman County, Ellis Tyler, corruption King Kong. This man, when he served as speaker, according to him, he took a loan of $300,000 and built a massive hotel. Within less than 6 months, he paid the building off. When he was fired as speaker, few months down the line, he couldn't afford to provide electricity for that place. The place went to the ground. Today, he's a senator. And watch what's going to happen. He's going to build that place up, and people of his kind will go there. People who are in opposition are not welcome there because they will be considered enemy of the state as well. What does that say to us as human beings and as a country?
You know, I like when you say, what does it say to us as human beings? And I'll just make a little comment there on what the panelists said when you talked about Liberian young girls are prostitutes. I think that's big of a general statement, right? It's unfortunate that many of them have resulted into prostitution just to, sustain themselves. But I don't think all of them are prostitutes. But, Mr. Garley, I said this. I think I was watching the television once, or the internet, and there was some massive fire somewhere on Popo Beach, across the bridge. And I think President Weah went over there. And I saw government officials, and I saw the people they were serving. I said, this is horrible, man. I mean, they look so good. How can you be serving people and you look so good and they look so poor? I mean, Liberian, mass of people are just poor in health. But I think it was 2018 or so, or 2019, just around or before the COVID. Someone told me people are just dying in this country like flies. Every little thing, the person is gone. You know, I got a sister who isn't feeling well, just to go and take CT scan, X-ray, blood, or lab test. I pay over $600 United States dollars. Now tell me, how many people can afford that? So being sick in Liberia under President Weah's administration is like a death sentence. So I asked the question, why did we kill Tomer? Why did we kill Samedo? You know, you sit in a country where when people talk, they get killed. You know, you say, I have no political prisoners. So I asked in the chat room, why is it President Weah has no political prisoner? Sociologically, why? You know, no one could really answer it, but I was going beneath and saying, because people have to keep quiet. What a tyrant you are. How can you treat your people like this? How? We should never allow this to happen in Liberia. And I support every one of you. Hold every one of those governments accountable. Hold them accountable. Hold them. There should be accountability, financial accountability, social accountability. All of those are very important. Liberians are not respected. I was in Ghana in 2001 and 2002. Liberians are treated very inhumanely in that country, even as refugees. Not the same. On a Saturday, there were about 3, 4, 5, 10 funerals. Liberians are just dropping and dying in that country. Why are you treating your people like this? Why? Why?
Thank you. Reverend George, Nathaniel McGill said, at least we are stealing the money. We're not taking the money out of the country. I mean, the man convicted himself. He was sanctioned by the U.S. government. The amount of money that boy spent, and might give it to become senator. And these are the guys that will be going around to take, like you said earlier, the $30,000. And at the end of the day, the people will continue to suffer. Where do we go from here? Alice Tyler, Corruption King Kong, Bill Twagwe, the National Board Authority. At the time, the president would just make a call and he would send whatever he collects from there. The deputy governor at the central bank, when she served as LPRC managing director, there's the allegation that she said to somebody that if they were to do audit today, I'll go to jail. Because George Riada just tell me, say, look, Imade, bring 300,000, bring 500,000. And she was sent it straight to the president. And now she's deputy governor at the Central Bank of Liberia. All of her friends, girlfriends, boyfriends are all employed. Unqualified people. Liberia has always been this lady that they come, they mistreat her. Liberia has been the one to pay your student loan, your child support. At the end of the day, after 175 years, we're still in the dirt. We're still in the dirt. Where is that change? When is it going to come? Is it now? These people have got to do something. You have a country where the central bank governor, when he gets in the elevator, nobody gets in the elevator. The governor in the elevator, he alone will be there until he gets out. Are you better off than your people? I mean, you talking about people that never had a pot to pace in on a winner to throw you out. All of a sudden, you've become a big shot. Ruben Thomas Ade, how you doing, my auntie? Mary Pade, how are you? Raymond Clark, Carter Williams, Take it away, Reverend George.
Yeah, you see, that's why I continue to say that the incoming administration has a very serious daunting task because you see, as we talk about accountability, the incoming administration is also a corporate of what we are outlining here. Look, we can sit here and wonder all we want for a minister building a home in 2 months, 3 months. If I'm getting, for example, as a representative, if I'm getting free $30,000 apart from my salary, that alone I built a house in Liberia for $25,000, a modern house in the Kawa area. Okay, so if I'm getting $30,000 free money, in addition to making $10,000 to $12,000 a month, having gas car, having free cars, why wouldn't I build a mansion? It's not a magic. These are numbers. Numbers don't lie. So this one of the reasons why I was so attracted to Mr. Cummings' ministry campaign was his consistency of redeploying this waste in government to benefit the Liberian people, starting with the civil servant. Now, I know Liberians are not issue voters, so it's like if you don't have a need recognition, not popular out there, no matter how best is your platform and your intention, you just go down the dustbin. But that's political campaign. We're talking about governance. So we must be willing to borrow here and there. There's a lot of ways to be redeployed to benefit the civil servant. I yet to someone to answer me, why will Liberian minister make more than 2,000 United States dollars? If I went to Liberia and spent $1,000 a month, I would live like a bourgeois. I've been there before. I've been all over Africa. You know my track record. Whether it's East Africa, West Africa, South Africa, I've been all over the place. Africa in general, if you use 1,000 United States dollars, you live like a bourgeois. In Kenya, Tanzania, whatever, Sierra Leone, Ghana, I've been to Ghana. So why will Liberian minister make 10,000 United States dollars a month? In addition to government buying them cars and gas and scratch car and paying their cooks and their drivers. So Mr. Boaka coming in has a daunting task to look at the hardball and say enough is enough. If this doesn't happen, everything we're saying here will come back to square one. If we have minister making 10,000, senator making 10,000, how much do minister make? Because there's a compromise between the legislature and the executive and the judiciary. If we're going to improve this budget to give you $30,000 free money, how much we're getting as executive? We got to go down the road to the bottom. We're talking about reconciliation. We're talking about ministries without transportation to bring civil servants back to work. When you can take $30,000 and buy a bus, when every minister can pay for their own car, their own vehicle, we give you $2,000. You take an LPA and pay for your own vehicle and gas your own car. Why should government gas your car? And then they turn around and they are looting the vehicles now. Government vehicles are being looted as we speak. And so this is the elephant in the room. This is the situation that was created by the very worker who was coming in. We're talking about 6 years. What about 12 years? What about the death of Harry Greaves and all these people that died in the 12 years? What about the King Kong man you're talking about? Was in the 12 years. These people Liberians are not issue voters. It is sad. But I thank God for a platform like this and panelists like this because we are starting very early and we will be heard loud and clear. We will hold their feet to the fire. So I believe, George Weah was a dismal failure. That's no question. We all agree on this line. But Mr. Boaka coming in has a larger fish to fry because he is part and parcel of the system. And people surrounding him are also there for their own self-aggrandizement. Everybody now is hunting for a job. And one of the things I have passion for, God willing, is that why don't we have job training? Because you cannot do performance evaluation if you do not have a standard upon which you evaluate people. Somebody can come from college straight and become minister. What does he know about being a minister? So one of the institutions I want to run in Liberia is to have a contract to do job training in America and Canada, everywhere. You get a job, you got to go for training. And that training will spell out what exactly you're going to do. And they're going to be performer evaluation, follow that. That's why ministers go to work and all they do is just come to work, 12 o'clock, have lunch with their concubines and go back home. You ask a minister, what is your plan for this week, for this month, for this year? Why do we have the post and telecommunication from the time I was a child and no letter can be delivered in the home? What has the telecommunication post and telecom been doing for all these 170 years? So the whole system needs to be local. And Joseph Boakai, we have to pray for him, but he has a daunting task. And I don't want to hear about this late survey or reconciliation. No. Everything will reconcile when we start to do the right thing. When we start to hold people accountable. When we try to bring back justice. When a Liberian child can wake up 2 a.m. in the morning and walk the street across the road without being harmed. I went to Rwanda. I'm a country from war. We woke up 3 a.m. in the morning and walked down the street and came back. Kigali, the cleanest city in Africa. So we pray for Boakai.
Thank you.
You know, we fought the hard fight, but now we got to come back together and say the right thing and expect this incoming administration to do differently.
Thank you. General, on a weekday, you're working. You're supposed to be at your office. They say the president is coming from Ghana. And every cabinet minister leaves his or her office and goes to the Rabat International Airport to receiving the president. What is wrong with that? You're supposed to be working. General?
Yes, let me just say this. You guys know me. For some of you guys that don't know me, I went by the name of Killer B, and Josh, we are know me. The brother, let me start with, I think, what's his name? Otello, down here when he said we should start praising JMB. If you guys can remember, I am the lady that Stanton Waterspoon had my video when I was hitting my own Unity Party, the chairman, Copper Diane, for the $1,000 that I, donated doing a rally out in Colombia besides the $500 ticket that I paid. The ticket was issued. I paid for the ticket, and then I gave $1,000. For me, I'm the kind of person, my mother taught me charity begins at home and it ends abroad. So people know me. I don't joke. I will criticize my own. I have even gone on Facebook to criticize my own family members. I'm heading to Liberia. We are going to hold this government, the incoming government, accountable. I am a Unity Party partisan, but I speak for integrity. I speak for accountability. If we are condemning the George Weah government, we ourselves must come with equity. We must be clean. So if some of them feel that because Honorable Joseph Boakai have won these elections, they're going to, run, get government positions, and they're going to damage his image, it's not going to happen. And this is what we want Honorable Joseph Boakai to use the media to tell us what he's doing. Let him come out and tell us what he promised during the campaign. He said there's going to be auditing, there's going to be transparency, there's going to be accountability. I've been in the field for monitoring. I have been a security officer. I was all in NIMA. People can tell you I worked throughout the length and breadth of Liberia with the exception of Riverside, while in the employ of the United Nations system for 20 unbroken years. So when I'm talking about monitoring, we're talking about qualitative and quantitative monitoring. We are not going to allow government officials that are supposed to be at their offices at 8 o'clock and they coming at 11 o'clock and leaving at 2 o'clock. I'm going to offer my expertise. I'm going to go from offices to offices. And this is why right now we will be asking the now GSA director, Madam Brewer. She needs to come out and bring the listing of all logistical equipment that was bought for this government because there are rumors, they are looting the offices, they are changing the lesson plates on cars. She needs to give account. That's one person who will be auditing. She needs to tell us what has happened to government property. So these guys that are going around taking the computers and stealing things for the office from these offices, they are joking. People know me. When I'm out in the field, I am there to implement and I drive for results. I'm heading to Liberia. So you should listen. There was a reason why that I was not on social media. Now, free at last, free at last.
Thank you.
Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. My name, I'm coming. My name has been on the blacklist. Everybody that been knowing me for the past 6 years, I have been a thorn in the flesh for George Weah. So when you talk about unity party, we shouldn't praise Honorable Joseph Newman Burger. Some of us are there to ensure that what he promised Liberians, he will deliver. And I trust you. He promised a government of inclusiveness, and we know that he will deliver it. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, Dr. Gay, we have 850 ghettos in Liberia. So the fact that we're not hearing the sounds of guns, we're still at war when it comes to drugs. Land.
Also, can I just clarify something to my basics over there? Just give me
Can you,
2 seconds.
Can you please wait your turn?
Okay.
We'll circle back to you. Thank you. Dr. Gay, take it away, please.
Well, I was in Liberia to vote. I sat with some of the young kids in the ghetto in my own New Georgia, where I grew up, New Georgia, Town. I knew the kids. Some of them are my relatives. I sat with them. They had a voting cards, and they were not going to vote. And I asked them why. They said, in the voices, vote for who? Just to use me. And I watched their demeanor, and I said, Mr. Weah, fail these kids like the past Unity Party government. Here's why. When President Weah decided to define that he's not a politician, he's an administrator, he's a poor administrator. The first thing doesn't understand the word politician. To be a politician, it means you decide to take on an elected office or be involved professionally in the act of governance. So this is a man who doesn't even know, and I blame no one, but it was to happen. Mr. Weah needed to be president so Liberia people can go through this phase of our country. So the young people, I'm involved in sports. My dad took President Weah out of the country in 1987, took him to Brazil. And the very plane I brought Pop back, the plane crashed. When the plane landed with the Liberian national team, Pop was to remain in Brazil to pay Liberia's money. When he worked with George Weah or President Doe's administration. And we went back home, and these very kids, I was still in the Long Green St. Patrick's when I wrote my dad. I said, tell your son George Weah to build his post academy for the young people. A Long Green student, that's about a lot of years now. He never paid attention to that. So everything that God gifted him with, he basically failed. The game that we played and we lost to Malawi, it was almost a redux. Don't forget, Liberia had a chance to go for World Cup. And President Weah was the head of that team. The only game to just win and we go to World Cup. He squandered that game. And we asked his friends, Zoga Wesi, they all make excuses. So when I see the young kids who I know are talented, they have so many things to do. What has this man offered them? Has he visited the ghettos, the so-called ghettos? Did he ask them what do they need to get out of there? Some offered ways to do it. That's why we engaged his administration very early on. We brought in things from Chicago to teach the kids to be rescue workers. We bought boats. We bought fire uniforms to teach them to be able to not just work only in Liberia, but to be able to respond to emergency situation. What did Bill Troy do? He took most of our things out to go and run to be senator. What did President Weah office do? He sat me in his waiting room for 2 hours, took my cell phone from me, and said, go see Archibald Barnard. Archibald Barnard said, we don't have money for these things. We don't need them. But those were things for the very young people today. Very young people. And some of the things are still sitting at the port of Monrovia. We're talking about stretchers. Those who work in the healthcare area, those emergency stretchers called striker stretchers that were used when the COVID. We have oxygen masks to teach our young people so they could respond in the various communities if there were fire or other emergency problems. So Mr. Weah abandoned his base, the so-called young people he called his Weahians, because he said he called them the first-time voters. Use our resources that have been used to help the kids to get them out to work. So we are in a situation where those young people are our priority, and Mr. Walker has to take that seriously.
Thank you. Folks, if you just joining us, this is ASHFORD GARLEY Live. We're coming your way from the Twin Cities of Minnesota. And please invite friends and relatives. If you own a business, you want us to create awareness for your business, all you have to do, please contact us. Speaking of business, we'd like to say that big thanks to Honeybee. Honeybee has a secure store for rent in Memberstown, and look no further. Honeybee has two vacant stores, concrete wrap inside and outside, concrete roof with individual private half bathroom. Okay, it's located in Painesville, Rappersville Highway, around the Camp Bethesda Nation School, Honeybee's Junction, Westtown, and she's asking for $500 per month, and yearly payment is required. Serious inquiries, please. And you can reach Honeybee at 813-850-2550. Leave a voicemail, text message, email, or you can reach her at bberry53@gmail.com. Otello.
Yes, I just want to use a few seconds to respond to my sister when I say we should not right now anticipate on pressing Joseph Newman Boakai. I think it's a very, very good thing that um, from our history, leaders, politicians are people who speak at a certain point because they need something, and if they get into that position, you may not be able to control them. So it is good that we keep that feet on fire while they are taking on national leadership. If that being said, I just want to speak to something that Reverend George said, which is very important when it comes to the millions of dollars we are spending on government officials in our country. It draws my attention to District Number 8 representative. The national legislature, his office is built in District Number 8, but this is the man who received a car that costs $45,000 from the government. This is a man that received over $3,000 to $4,000 in gas every month, even though his office is right next door to him. But he received $45,000 worth of car right in front of his house, place that he could possibly walk to go to work. But he received this money. This is a man who received $3,000 to $4,000 every month to buy gas. This guy received $1,500 just to buy newspaper. Just to buy newspaper that they don't even buy. They spend $2,000 to $3,000 on scratch card. We feed them. We close them. One of the things that hurts is even those that cook for them, we pay for them. But guess what? Our lawmakers work 2 times a week. 2 times a week, they go to work sometimes 3, 4 o'clock they out. 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock they out. 11 o'clock, 3 o'clock they out. But we pay them $15,000, $16,000 every month. Some of them live in Maserati County. But we give them $4,000, $5,000 every month in gas. Where are you going? Minister receiving $4,000, $5,000 on gasoline. Minister of Commerce, even though they sit right in Marvel, they don't go anywhere. They sit right in Marvel, public white minister that's supposed to travel around the country. They sit right in Marvel, but we spend thousands of dollars every month just to keep that lifestyle. Why would you give a single person $2,000 US every month just to buy scratch card? No accountability. Nothing. You don't know how much they make. Even though the Constitution provides that the money that they take home, it should be our law. We should know how much they make. We should know because we hire them. We send them to public offices, but we don't know how much they make. If you ask a minister how much you make, the man will say, oh, I make something above, something below, something around, something this. We don't know how much they make. So this is a system that is built just to benefit people who we empower with our votes. We don't know how much our president makes. When Joshua told over, he said, I cut 35% of my salary. Everybody was clapping, but you don't know how much he makes. Imagine if a president makes 60,000 every month and he said 35%. That's the salary, but you don't know how much he makes on signature, signing of the book of concession agreement. We don't know. But Liberia will come and say, oh, the man's a good leader because they gave him $30,000.
Thank you.
But he takes $10 and give it to you. But he said, oh, they made a leader. He robbed you of over $29,000. So these are things we're looking forward to. And we want for the new president to look at these things and fix it. Don't complain to us that, oh, I just taking over. We want you to fix this thing for us. We want to know how much you make. Tell us how much you make, Joseph Boakai. We want to know how much minister will be making, deputy minister will be making. Don't declare your answer, then you hide it in the corner. Make it public. I want to go to Front Page Africa and read it. I want to go on the executive management page and read. I want to know how much my deputy minister makes. I want to know how much my president makes. Because of that, we can begin to judge them on their lifestyle.
Thank you, Taylor. You know, the first lady has an annual budget of $1.5 million. Her brother is currently in Grand Crew digging gold. In the middle of that 3 o'clock in the morning, you will see private charter jet come in, go to Cape Mountain, take our resources out of the country. This is a guy who claims to be from the slum. Worth anywhere from 85 to 90 million bucks. Now, I should speak. What did Liberia do to these people? We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll begin taking the closing statement. And this one is going out to my own sister-in-law, Mrs. Kiko Smith. Something produced by Jimmy Cliff, House of Exile. George, please listen to this.
There's a day of feasting and a day of famine, day of sadness and a day of joy. You couldn't see day of feasting. Life isn't just a little play like toy. So your day arrived when you least expected. Cause you always thought you were well protected. But now you feel like a fish out of water. So now you're wondering what's the matter. Oh, remember you said it couldn't happen to you. Now you're thinking how to start anew. A drowning man will catch and destroy. You had warned, but you wouldn't take heed. Everything in creation must obey the law.
Oh, man, you were warned, but you didn't take heed to prayer.
You didn't take heed, yes.
Take heed. Oh, man. Thank you for recommending this song, my sister-in-law, Mrs. Kiko Smith. All right, folks, I want to say a big thanks to all of you for taking up time of your business schedule just to form part of the show tonight. And as we go home tonight, we want to begin taking closing statements. That'll begin with Professor Lindsay Reeves. Give us 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. I I'm dumbfounded. I'm telling you the truth. How this part of the world we can easily jump on the white man and talk about racism and discrimination and talk about equity, diversity, inclusion, you name it. And when we treat ourselves like this, it puzzles me.
Mm.
You know, when we talked about that peace that we want, I totally agree with all of you. It's a process. And that process, of course, there should be accountability, but there should be humility, for heaven's sake. But where is the humanitarianism? Why have we lost it? Is it greed? I think it boils down to most of that. And we don't mind how we know what we eat when others are going to bed hungry, just close by. With us. And Liberia needs, the pastor is here. Liberians, there's a lot of work we need to do with ourselves. I'm here in Canada, and Liberians are still disjointed. There's still a lot of problems. Even with diaspora Liberians, we can't even put organizations together and work peacefully. So it's a global issue for Liberians all over the world where we find ourselves. But please, we need to think about those people back home who don't have the opportunity to sustain themselves. It's very important. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Professor Reeves. I will now go to Dr. Gay to please give us your closing statement.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is a wonderful panel here, and the issues at stake just make so much sense. Professor Reeves just hit it. The sense of humility. Where do we have it? We criticize everybody in America or in the Western world, or we talk about racism, but in our own place, we treat our people so bad. That is why I always refer to the two diseases that we struggle from, meaning from our side of the world. The Stockholm syndrome, where we are so much in love with those who victimize us, steal our money and we praise them. And the Dutch disease, those who would take our resources and put it somewhere else and we can praise them and say, we see the road, we see this road, while everything behind next to us are all depleted. As we move forward, as I said to you, Monrovia turned 200 years April 7th. Most people don't know that fact. A dirty city, a filthy city. But as I think about it, I'm reminded of the three young men who in 1819 took the expedition of those two white men from Sierra Leone. They were young men who were enslaved in what we now know as Providence Island and St. Paul River. They will be leading that group of white men to present-day Monrovia or Liberia. William David, a Bassa boy, David Noah, a Crew boy, and William Tamba, a Kisi. We don't know their stories, but thank God we were able to research and find them. So Mr. Bwaka comes at a time when we must hold him accountable to make sure things are done well. And we shouldn't give up. And I want to leave with these two rules. Rule 1, we should not give up. And our rule number 2, we should always remember rule number 1. Thank you.
Thank you. General?
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you to all the panelists. Let me just close with this. We must come with equity as unity partisan. And my first target will be Copper Doyen, the national chairman for USAID and Canada. The funds that were raised in Columbia, Maryland in 2022, he needs to give account of it. He said that Unity Party, USA Canada is a 501c. He must give account of those funds. Like I said, I need my money because it was for the first time voter registration as well as pool washer. So we will start auditing from us, USA. I'm heading to Liberia, Copper Doyen. You will be surprised that Honorable Joseph Boakai will start auditing you. Secondly, I would like to see that Honorable Joseph Boakai will adapt the project cycle. Project cycle, you identify, you assess, you implement, you monitor, and you recommend. We want to attract qualified Liberians that will be in the government. During the WIA government, there were lots and lots of misplaced appointees. One like Jefferson Kochi that have our city so dirty. I was in Liberia last year. It's so nasty. Can you imagine near the capital city, Busse Quarter, the sewer system is busting up. Go down waterside. Our people are suffering. Look at the death trap on Robertson Highway. The airport bathroom is clogging up. These are the things that we want on the Joseph Boakai to ensure that Liberians will be held accountable. I am heading to Liberia, like I said. I'm a CC monitor. I will offer my expertise. I will go from offices to office, assessing those that will be employed, those that will be appointed. You must be to work on time. That's why I said there should be a system in place where people will clock in, people will clock out with cameras there, because you're not going to take somebody's ID card to clock in. If you clock in 2 times, we want to know why you're clocking out. We want to make sure the harmonization of salaries that have been given. We want for the Constitution to be revisited. I'm just jumping because 2 minutes is too short for all what I want to say. And secondly, I want to make sure that Unity Party will live up to what we told Liberians, that we're going to audit the past government early. We're going to make sure that this government will be also audited. Thank you so much.
Okay, folks, if you were looking for a house to rent in Liberia as people prepare to go for the inauguration, Honeybee have got you covered with 2 houses for rent. One house is located on the main road. It could be a residential or commercial. Located in Painesville, Rappersville Highway near the Cambetesta Mission School there, near the Honeybee Junction in Bengbastown. It has 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, 2. It also has living a dining room, kitchen, upper balcony, porch, paved front yard, glass sliding windows with screen porch floor tiles throughout the house. They have well, water tower, electric nearby, and she's asking for $650 a month. Yearly payment is required. To contact Honeybee, she can be reached at 813-850-2550. You can text her, message her, or email her on bberry53@gmail.com. My brother Othello, a big thanks for taking up time. Please give us your closing statement.
Oh, yes. First of all, I just want to remind Ambassador Joseph Newman Boakai, as he awaits his inauguration in January, that the victory that he won, it is not because he was the most educated man in the race. It is not because he was the most qualified man in the race. People trusted him. People voted for him because of the young girl that was murdered in 2018, Odette Sherman. He should also remember the 4 professional auditors that were murdered in less than a week. He should also remember a young man who was serving in the police, James Early for Congo Town, who was murdered again. He should also remember those young blonde women who gathered at the restaurant of the president and said, Mr. President, we are here. Since you took over, we don't have food to eat. He should also remember that young girl who stood up before his car at ELW Junction and said, Joseph Boakai, I am donating my $500 to you. So when you get up there, you should remember me. He should also remember those motorcyclists who gathered at Spoon Evan to donate their 5 cents, their 2 cents. They did it because they trusted you. They want you to go to the executive mansion, not to be president for Nema, not to be president for Lofa, not to be president for Montserrat County, but to be president for everybody. Every single young woman, protect them, fight for the integrity of those who voted for you, Mr. President. Thank you so much.
The fearless Reverend George, take it away.
Thank you to all the panelists and the Liberian people who are listening to this beautiful program, Bridge Radio Africa. Uh, with a background, multi-vocational accounting, management, theology, and a little bit of, legal here and there,
And marketing.
marketing, numbers don't lie. Take 30,000 United States dollars multiplied by 103 senators. That's 3,900,000 taken away to put into GFK, right away to provide beds and hospital equipment. The late John Macaulay set an example. His first anniversary, Independence Day celebration, he took that money and bought hospital bed in Tanzania and rallied the country on the Independence Day to do a cleanup campaign. You can do that. These things can happen. We're talking about how many ministers making, let's say, about $10,000. You cut it down to $2,000. Let's see who all will fight for a ministerial job if they will make $2,000 and be able to buy their own car with FPA and gas their own car. Take the representative 112, bring them to $2,000. Take that money, redeploy it to increase civil servant salary, $500 minimum for civil servant to have a living wage. Buy buses for each person to go to work, and then set in the auditing that everybody is speaking about. Then we come to national security, zero tolerance. If a Liberian child is harmed, that person who denies them their day in court must be denied their day in court. Justice for all. Let's revamp the Bella Yala. Like our sister was saying, you don't have political prisoners. I mean, everybody is silent in your government. Let's revamp Bella Yala. Look, we need total involvement for higher Tobo spoke about to bring Liberia back. The place is so insecure. The people are hungry. How do you expect for people to speak? So, Honorable Joseph Nyama Bwaka, even though I was a staunch critic during the election, I want to congratulate you on your win. Let it be a win for Liberia. And we are willing to rally around you to bring ideas if you're willing to listen to all the other people who will be called opposition. But congratulations to the Waka team, and let's get started now to hold everyone's feet to the fire. Thank you very much.
Yes.
It's a day of feasting and a day of famine. Day of sadness and a day of joy. You couldn't see in the day of feasting. Day arrived when you least expected. You always thought you were well protected. And now you feel like a fish out of water. So now you're wondering what's the matter. Oh, remember you said it couldn't happen to you. Now you're thinking how to start anew. A drowning man will catch it the straw. You had warned, but you wouldn't take heed.
One, but he didn't take
Thinking
it.
creation must obey a law.
And folks, that's all the time we have to be with you. God willing, we'll be back next week, same time, same place. This week, later on this week on Thursday, I want to say the big thanks to our sponsor for the honeybee out of Florida. She has 2 stores in Liberia and a house for rent. She can be reached. Her information is out there. But until then, folks, again, I want to say a big thank you to the panelists who have taken the time of the business schedule to form part of the show tonight. And before we leave tonight, please allow me to borrow the wordings of the wise man. Tough times don't last, tough people do. The height of a man is never known until he rises. When you fall, make sure you land on your back, because when you can look up, you can get up. You have the power within you to do so. You got comeback power. What people say about you and the possibility for your dream. It's none of your business. Let them worry about it. When somebody says no to you, they're not saying no to you. They're saying no to themselves. They're saying no to living a bigger life. They are saying no to what is going on in their heads because they're suffering from possibility blindness. Yours truly. He doesn't eat iron, but he's definitely stronger than a lion. Just sit to by ye get Zebon blow down and Yaku no chilaji. You wouldn't know Muzu and one game bad double. Droba, Wikoya, Sea Clock, Bolubai, Barikoyo, Jawri Pine, Jesus Fanicon, Mogirai. Africa's media do be doing extraordinaire. As for the giant garden, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
Bye,
great night.
everyone. Good night.
Right.
Good night.